Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a short little video on how I pull my rappel line out of a tree. I had been using a Doyle's gear hoist, and I put some dynaglide in there, and I put a little scaffold knot on the end here with a little bar that comes with Lone Wolf, which is now Novix, comes with their pull-up rope. And I used this for years before I started saddle hunting about 5 years ago. And it works great in the Doyles. I don't like the connector knob that comes on the Doyles. I think it's a pain in the butt to use. So I took it off and put this on, and it just keeps it from falling into pulling into the gear hoist when you let it go. So what I would do, and the reason I put this dynaglide in there was just to have extra strength for pulling. But what I would do is go underneath my rope, and I would go around it, and then between, just like that, and create somewhat of what's called a pile hitch. It's not a true pile hitch, but the principle is pretty much the same. But I never had any trouble with that coming out. That's solid. It's not going to slide. It's not going to go anywhere. So guys that like to use a Doyle's, that's how I do it without needing a carabiner. So some guys will use a carabiner. The problem I've found with using a carabiner, you hook it back there behind your knot. There's all kinds of ways, and depending on the trees and limbs, there's all kinds of ways that your rappel line can get snagged up on something while you're pulling it out. And I've had it happen where the rope drops on this side. I'll loosen it up a little bit for the demo, and my carabiner, as I'm pulling on it, ends up sliding away from my scaffold knot, and I just start losing leverage for getting this to come loose here. So now obviously I wouldn't have my stopper knot still in there. I'd have that out of the way. But I have had that issue a couple times where this ends up sliding down the rope, especially if you have to back up a ways. Sometimes you can't back straight up. You have to back up of it at an angle or something. And you don't want that to happen. Plus, I don't like carrying extra carabiners. So what I did is I took my dynaglide line. Now this is a separate line. It's not my Doyle's. This is a separate piece of dynaglide, which is about 40 feet long. And I spliced Brummel splice in here with a loop. So it's a buried Brummel. And the nice thing about this rope is that you can do your loops on both ends, because this splice is small enough that when you do a similar splice on the other end of the 40-foot line, you can pull this right through. Now, you don't have to do a sewn Brummel or anything like that. So pretty easy. So what I do with this, you can go from the top or you can go from the bottom, either way. Same thing, you just have to capture your line by going between your line and the scaffold, and then you just slip it over the end of your tail there, and this, you can pull on that as hard as you want, and that will not come off of there. It's solid. So it's a nice way to pull your rope down, and it's never going to slide out of position. Okay, now for cold fingers and so forth, you can see this is maybe just a little bit fiddly trying to get it undone. When you get to the bottom of the tree, it can get a little snug. Once you get it, I go the wrong way. Once you get it off of there, it can be snug and a little bit hard to grab onto it. So what I did is on the other end, I can show you here. There's my Brummeled loop. And I took some 7/64 am steel, about an 8-inch piece or 7-inch piece, and I did the same thing. I Brummel locked this in and buried the tail. Put a little shrink wrap on it, make it look pretty. So what I do with this, same thing. This is snugged up. I'm gonna go up underneath in here. I'm gonna go behind my line again, and I'm gonna hook right into here. I'm gonna pull that tight. Same thing, that can't go anywhere. I'm pulling on it hard, making it nice and snug. Now instead of picking at it like this, I just grab it. It comes right off of there. Grab the right side of the line and pull it out. The pile hitch is also a great way to get your line into the tree to begin with. If you have a paracord loop, or if you are throwing a throw line into the tree, take the end of your rope, take your loop. So you take your loop, whatever way you go around your rope, you go around it and you go underneath that dynaglide, and you come up and you stuff the end through there and you pull that tight. That will go through any crotch. It will not get hung up or pull loose. I can't say it won't get hung up. Sometimes there's bark that'll grab anything, but it won't come loose. Sometimes if you do get into a crotch and it starts getting snaggy on you, just pull it back and forth and it'll go through 99 times out of 100, maybe even more than that. Another thing I've done with my the end of my rappel line is I took a hot nail and burned a hole through about 1 inch from the end, where I took another piece of 7/64 SAM steel and made a continuous loop through that hole. So now I have a loop on the end of my rappel line. So if I want to use it to let my bow down first, or if I want to use it to bring my bow up or backpack up, if I have a heavy pack, I can just dump this out of my pouch before I go up, and I can pull it up the tree after I get up, and then just stuff the rope back into my pouch. And that's been very handy, very helpful. So again, to get this one loose, I just pull on it, slides right off the end. Bingo. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more tips, tricks, just subscribe, like the video, make a comment if you will. Happy to do more videos. Thanks guys. Happy hunting.